Ladies and gentlemen, apes and sapiens alike, coming at you live from the heart of the Forbidden Zone. Put your hands together for talk of the planet of the apes.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you very
everybody.
much. Thank you
Yes.
Dan, what are you doing?
I'm standing up
Why are you standing?
because I'm a stand-up guy.
Okay, first of all.
I'm a stand-up fella.
Yeah,
I'm standing up.
why are you doing that? You're making me anxious.
That's it. This Battle of the Planet of the Apes episode is stand-up podcast.
What kind of psychological warfare is this right now?
I want to stand up, so I'm standing up this time. This is the challenge. Daniel will stand up for the whole podcast challenge.
All right, listeners, it's been a long day of recording, and Daniel has peaked at his sitting time. Now it's time for him to stand.
My ADHD has kicked in, and if I sat down for any longer, I think I would have died. Not from anything violent happening to me. I think I would have shut down. My brain would have stopped.
Well, anyway, welcome to Talk of the Planet of the Apes, where we discuss chimpanzee to chimpanzee.
Oh my goodness.
Welcome much very back.
Welcome much very back. We discuss everything from chimpanzee to chimpanzee. What's another thing? Tired of monkeying around? Let's get down to monkey business.
Tired of those shitty other podcasts that definitely don't talk about monkeys and planets of apes?
Yes, welcome back to the one and only podcast. The where two people talk about movies. You've never heard another one. There's none of those.
Yeah, definitely not. We're not gaslighting you right now.
This is episode 5. Technically,
episode 5 of 5.
Yeah.
For season 1 of our miniseries, Daniel.
Talk of the Planet of the Apes is coming to an end today. Not forever. I mean, we're leaving the door open to return for season 2.
Indeed, we shall see.
Because, as you may know, ever since the year 2001, there has been 5 more Planet of the Apes movies. 1 full miniseries worth of episodes to record.
Indeed.
We just need to find the time and place to be able to record those, and maybe we'll do
make it happen.
We'll do a Talk of the Planet of the Apes too.
Because you know what, Daniel? It's just talk.
Exactly. It's just Talk of the Planet of the Apes. My name is Danny.
My name is Winter.
And we are your hosts today and every other day. And and in the last episode, we talked about Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. This episode, we're talking about the final chapter, as the poster says. Battle for the Planet of the Apes. It is the 1973
Directed
film.
by J. Lee Thompson.
Directed by J. Lee Thompson.
Our boy is still with us.
And written by John William Corrington and Joyce Hopper Corrington. Not Paul Den.
Fascinating.
However, Paul Den does get a story credit. And Arthur P. Jacobs, of course, returned to produce, as well as Roddy McDowell, the king himself, returning as Caesar. Now, Winter.
Yes.
Would you like to talk a little bit about the development of this film, how it came to be?
Sure thing. Lay it on me.
I don't have an incredible amount here about the film, but I do have some. And initially, it started off with writer Paul Den, man responsible for writing the last 3, who provided the script for every previous sequel. He was hired to provide a treatment for this film. He withdrew from the project before he finished actually writing the screenplay, but he did provide a treatment. So he did write the story.
Oh, okay.
But apparently there was some health complications. So the studio reached out to these brothers, these Corrington brothers, or no, husband and wife.
Oh.
I don't know why I thought they were brothers. John and Joyce. Yeah. Who were brought in after their success on the film The Omega Man. Have you ever seen The Omega Man?
I have not.
But do you know what The Omega Man is?
I actually do not.
So The Omega Man, have you ever seen, well, it also stars Charlton Heston, our boy, the boy from the original
Man,
movies.
myth, legend.
George Taylor himself.
Indeed.
The king. And it is the original I Am Legend. The movie I Am Legend is based on the book, the short story Omega Man, which is what this movie is. It's the original Omega Man.
Okay.
He has a sniper. He has a dog. There's vampires.
Huh.
It's awesome. I love this movie, and I like the short story a lot. And I like the Will Smith one enough I think it's fine. I don't know. The
Okay.
imagery is cool, but I don't think the movie is that cool.
Got it.
I think it's fine. I don't think it's a very good adaptation, and I don't
Mm.
like the CGI zombie things that
Yeah.
are supposed to be vampires.
Fair enough.
I don't like those, but
Fair enough.
I like the rest of it. Prior to that, though, neither of them had ever written a science fiction film.
Ah.
Joyce Carrington later admitted that they had never seen any of the Apes films before writing the script.
Well.
And Den was unavailable for rewriting it at first, but he was hired to come in and do a final polish at the end after they'd written the whole thing.
Fair enough.
He was given a story credit, despite an appeal to the WGA to get a screenplay credit. He wanted to be credited as a writer, and WGA was like, no, but best we can give you is story by.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what he got. He claimed to have rewritten 90% of the dialogue and even changed the ending.
Wow.
The original script by the Corringtons ended on a playground with an ape and human children play fighting. Den chose to go with a close-up of the statue of Caesar with a tear falling from his eye, which Joyce Corrington characterized as stupid. It turned our stomachs when we saw it. The WGA ruled in favor of the Corringtons for sole screenplay credit.
Wow.
They filmed this over on the Fox Movie Ranch for an estimated budget of $1.7 million, just like the last one, which I guess maybe they thought it was a recipe for success because the last one had that same budget, lowest budget of the franchise so far, but made more money than the previous two films.
Got it.
This time around, J. Lee Thompson was unhappy. He was unhappy with the script and with the budget. He felt he could have used a bigger budget to assist in portraying a battle, but he agreed to direct without a script in place and regretted because Paul Den could not have been on the project through the whole writing process. So he ended up getting roped in and having to direct this movie.
Got it.
It was the second to last film that was produced by Arthur P. Jacobs, who died shortly after this film came out, 2 weeks after this film came out, at the age of 51. So that's unfortunate.
Wow.
The version we watched is from the box set, right? So we watched, without realizing it, the extended cut of this movie.
Oh.
Yes, that's right. So the theatrical release of this movie was very short, and the syndicated television event, like television version, the version that played on TV, added a few more scenes. One scene takes place out after Aldo chases the teacher Abe, and McDonald reminds him why humans should not say no to apes, which is, I think, in the movie that we watched.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Another scene towards the end of the film shows the beginning of the House of Mendez cult as the humans in the city are about to fire off the doomsday bomb as seen in Beneath, but decide not to because it would destroy the world. See, the whole Mendez cult thing, this is not in the version that we saw. But in the TV version and like the Japanese version or whatever, this is. And it's on the special features of the DVD we have, but not in the movie we saw.
Got it.
But yes, so there was some deleted scenes that were about the founding of the cult of Mendez, which are the origins of the people who pray to the bomb. That was in
the
this.
mutant humans.
Yes. So
Got
they
it.
filmed that, and that was in this. Yeah, I mean, Governor Mendez is, I guess, the successor at the end of the film, and it's supposed to be like this dark undertone of like, yes, we know what they become in the future. Instead, we watched a version that has a whole litany of deleted scenes that weren't in the theatrical cut, but are now in the cuts that most people have access to nowadays. If you have a DVD or Blu-ray of it, you're watching the extended cut, the same cut we watched.
Special.
At the time, it grossed a total of $8.8 million, making it the lowest grossing film in the series.
Wow.
The film released to mixed and negative reviews from critics. Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 36% based on 28 critical reviews. The consensus is the benefit of bright ideas and visually shabby. Battle for the Planet of the Apes takes a celebrated franchise and blows it all up. The Maniacs.
Yeah, it just feels like they took a shit.
We'll get to it.
Yeah.
Roger Ebert not Siskel this time, Ebert,
Oh, Roger Ebert. I
says
know that guy.
he gave it 2 out of 4 stars, which is
Mm.
half a star less than what Siskel gave the last movie. And he says, Battle looks like a last grasp of a dying series. This is 2 out of 4, so it's like a 5 out of 10.
Mm.
A movie made simply to wring the dollars out of any remaining Apes fans.
Oh, wow.
Siskel, and the same the competing magazine at the same time, wrote 1 out of 4 stars.
Mm.
The 5th and last of the successful Ape series is the worst of the lot and a bloody bore. Variety wrote, this is the 5th and last feature film of the Ape series, and the fact shows to obviously Arthur P. Jacobs' production, which is routinely program material for a fast payoff. J. Lee Thomas's perfunctory direction both reflects and sets the sluggish tone pervading the 86-minute film. Short movie.
Yeah.
New York Times said that the director J. Lee Thompson will not win any awards for Battle, but the film's simplicity diffuses criticism. The chimpanzee and orangutan makeup remains remarkable, and the lines are occasionally bright and funny. There are far worse ways to waste your time. Washington Post wrote, it ends it all with more than a thud than a bang, prolonging the concept, but again, failing to extend the idea. Los Angeles Times wrote that the film is launched from a more thinly contrived premise than any of its predecessors, and it becomes just as involving as they were. Thanks to the strong appeal of the series' allegorical underpinnings and the adroit direction of J. Lee Thomas, who stages several spectacular, rather than gory, battle sequences with the same finesse he displays in the film's more intimate moments. A much more positive review right there.
Definitely.
And then our favorite fucking idiot from that one magazine.
The Bulletin, he's back.
Yeah. Almost every line of the Corrington's thin script attests the strain of having to find anything new for the apes to say or do.
He said the thing, monkey say, monkey do. He's not supposed to say that.
God, a monkey say, monkey do. And apparently there's some commentary on no sounds like an N-word taboo thing building on the allegory of racism.
Oh.
And I don't know. I don't think that's what the movie is going for.
I wouldn't say it's a head-on allegory. I would say it's more of a do not, like, you are below apes.
Yes, do not invoke the trauma you put us through.
Exactly. Like, you're not allowed to say no to us just like we weren't to you.
Right.
That's more of the logic.
Right. Which, you know what? I guess you can make that argument. That like it has this it carries that weight for them.
Sure.
Funnily enough, around the time of this movie, John Chambers, right, the makeup artist, went on to work on a CIA produced film for a mission called Argo. Have you ever heard of that?
I have not.
So in 2012, there's a film called Argo, directed by Ben Affleck, about a CIA mission where they had to make a fake movie to infiltrate something. You know, I'm not going to go. I don't have too many details of it here. However, in adapting Argo, Ben Affleck covers parts about how John Chambers was covering. He was hiding the fact that he was doing fucking super spy James Bond shit in real life by saying he was working on this movie.
Oh, I see.
When in reality, he didn't work on this movie. His employees did, and he just got the credit because he was off doing Argo.
Got it.
Because he was being a 70s super spy or whatever.
Huh. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a fun fact. I didn't realize that until reading a little bit into this. But that brings us to the end of behind the scenes production history and real world meta shit. You know.
Wow, that was a glitch.
I started having trouble there. But without further ado, would you like to start delving into the plot?
We are going to open up on the telling of the simian lore, which also functions as the TV show recap.
I actually have it written down here. I can read it out to you.
Awesome, do it.
So it starts in 2670 AD, and we see an orangutan speaking into the camera. In the beginning, God created beast and man so that both might live in friendship and share dominion
Mm-hmm.
over a world in peace. But in the fullness of time, evil men betrayed God's trust, and in disobedience, his holy word waged bloody wars, not only against his own kind, but against the apes, whom they reduced to slavery.
Ah.
Yes, and there's a orangutan talking directly into the camera, like Jonathan Frakes in Beyond Belief, recapping the previous two movies.
Yeah.
Like you said, the previously on Planet of the Apes. But it's like, do you ever see Beyond Belief, Fact or Fiction? It's
I
like
have not.
total fabrication. Didn't happen. And it's just talking about shit like that.
Yeah.
I don't know. Jonathan, Star Trek reference for any of you fucking nerds out there. As the credits are rolling, we see John Landis is credited, and we see a teenage John Landis. Ah, scary. Oh my God, that guy would grow up to kill a bunch of children. The budgetary constraints of this film are starting to seriously show, in my opinion, as we go through the apes' camps outside. Their faces seem to be very stiff, in my opinion. What do you think?
Absolutely. Yeah. I almost feel a little bit bad because I don't want to notice. Like, I want to give this movie a chance, especially like, unfortunately, Daniel kind of primed me with this movie on accident, and he said that.
Oh, that
I heard some negative things about it.
I like this movie. I like this movie. I'm not going to go into this. The audience at home listening, we're going to make fun of this movie a bit. I actually enjoyed this movie. I think the critics were way too harsh on it at the time, and even now.
Yeah.
But without further ado, it is what it is.
Yeah. So basically, the story's going to pick up from a time under Caesar's rule, and the humans are being beaten into submission.
I believe it's 2001.
Yes, and they're
roughly
not yet slaves.
Right. Humans are living amongst
they're
apes,
more
but
like
they're lesser.
Indoctrined servants.
Indentured servants?
Indentured servants, yeah. There is an establishment of a society, rituals, daily routines being established, where there's actually school. There's ape school.
Right.
And there's a teacher who accidentally utters the word no.
Well, before that, we're introduced to Cornelius.
Yes.
Caesar's son.
Indeed.
He has a little 10-year-old son named Cornelius. And we also meet Aldo, the gorilla that Cornelius states in the third film, like Cornelius the First, states that Aldo is the first ape to articulate.
Yes.
So now we're seeing Aldo.
We're seeing the image of Aldo.
However, here he is portrayed as a much more villainous kind of character. Maybe he held his own uprising somewhere else before this film, or maybe the fact that Aldo is remembered as this legend is like myth making over time. This is my take on this, is that it's a commentary on how the truth and the legends get lost over time, and we just remember the myths and the legends.
Absolutely.
We remember the things.
No matter how modified they are, you'll never know what truly happened.
Right. It's like King Arthur in a way.
Yeah.
Where it's like we don't know the true story of King Arthur.
You weren't there at the round table. You don't know.
Exactly. But we know all these legends of King Arthur, and that is often enough for storytelling purpose. And I think this is the first glimpse into that. That's the thing about this movie that I find the most meaty. The stuff I find the most interesting is the myth-making aspect of it.
Absolutely.
Even those deleted scenes that establish the start of the cult of Mendez, like with the bomb, like those feel like those fit perfectly into the thesis of this is a movie about the beginning of these myths, these legends.
And this is also narrated in the beginning, right?
Yes.
By the lawgiver?
Like a storyteller. Yes, by the lawgiver.
Yes.
The man who would go on to become the Jesus figure for the apes in the first film.
Which it's interesting to see how like Caesar holds all this power now, but he is the upcoming next, or alongside of Caesar, the next
lawgiver.
Like Messiah.
Yeah.
That who's going to be worshipped.
Yeah. Like the Caesar and the lawgiver are worshipped like prophets.
Yes.
And this film is narrated by the lawgiver, and it is the lawgiver telling the story of Jesus like he's Abraham or Moses or something. Like it has a very religious scope, you know? I think that's cool. I think that's the aspect of this film that I really started to like cling on to. But yes, like you said, you know, Caesar has established these laws. Before we see Caesar, we see the effects of the laws he's made.
When we see the society and the rules, the effects of the rules that he's put in place.
Right. And the teacher
Mhm.
says no to Aldo.
Because he's not performing well.
Well, it's because Aldo tries to rip up Cornelius's homework.
Because he gets envious.
Right.
Because he is struggling to basically the teacher is a human, and all the students are chimps and gorillas.
They're trying to learn to speak and write.
Indeed. So now we have this tension in the classroom where you are supposed to expect these chimp and ape children to respect and learn from a human, which this is the only, I think, position of somewhat power a human has in this society.
It seems like it,
but
it
even
seems like
still, it's not complete authority.
Right, because immediately Abe is like, "Oh, that's it. I'm taking you to Caesar so I can fucking execute you for saying no." And I think it's very telling that Caesar, even though he's this like revolutionary hero in a way, that he is putting into place law, like thought crime laws.
Yeah,
like you can't say no to somebody. Like he's taking away basic human rights, even though we're supposed to see him as the good guy. We're starting to see that
he's almost this like anti-hero. Like I can't really tell if I'm on his side or not.
In order for this revolution of his to work, he has to be as ugly as the humans.
Indeed.
And whether that makes him a good guy or a bad guy makes it kind of ambiguous. I am of the opinion that the previous film sets him up to be a villain at the end.
But now that he's actually in power, he's establishing this society that no longer has predominantly humans, predominantly apes. And the humans are no longer of power that can be considered harmful to the apes. There's only like a little bit of a gist of they could possibly be a threat to the apes, but other than that, they've been practically beaten into submission and they're silenced.
Right, and it seems like we'll get into this a little bit later when we finally are introduced to Caesar, which is the very next scene, where Virgil comes over with Aldo and the teacher to Caesar, and he says, "They're like, hey, this guy said no. Do we have permission to kill him?" And
his reaction is the best.
Caesar's like, "What?" And then Virgil is like, "Teacher only reverted to type under provocation. He spoke like a slave master in the old days of our servitude when we were conditioned to mechanical obedience. He uttered a negative imperative." And Caesar's like, "Could you put this into words which even Caesar can understand?" And Virgil is like, "He said, no, Aldo, no." And then Caesar's like, "I think he's fine. I think he didn't do anything wrong."
And he also tells all the apes or all the gorillas to return to the classroom and clean up the mess.
Yes.
And he also tells the teacher to not carry on with class until the mess is completed.
Yeah, it shows that there is a kindness to Caesar.
Yeah.
And that
but also he's at a different time in his life too.
Yes, he has a kid now. He's much older. It looks like he's trying to do the right thing. But he has this like inbuilt prejudice to him against humans that is causing him to almost act out similarly.
Right.
Even though he wants to be better than them. Like in his head, he has a superiority complex.
Yes.
That is allowing him to be simultaneously better but worse. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I think that is shown through that scene. We also see that McDonald and Caesar are still there.
Which, by the way, just to backtrack, last episode you said that that's his brother?
Yes. So for whatever reason, I guess they couldn't get the actor back.
Wow.
But they wrote McDonald into the script. So they just got another actor, dressed him up the same, and was just like, he's also McDonald. But we'll throw a line of dialogue in there where he says, "My brother McDonald," to refer to the last movie. So yeah, so they're hanging out. And there's a thing where like where McDonald is kind of like having this conversation about how Caesar's still kind of authoritarian, even though he's trying to be good. And he says like a metaphor about masters, and Caesar's like, "We're not your masters." And McDonald's like, "Well, we're not your equals."
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's around the scene where we find out he's McDonald's brother because he refers to my brother used to work for the governor and stuff like that.
And then I have Dr. McDonald written down.
Yeah.
Was that his conjugation to be polarizing to Mr. McDonald?
I think, was he not Dr. McDonald in the previous film as
No,
well?
last one he was Mr.
Then yeah, maybe he's a doctor now, or maybe this guy is a doctor now.
Okay. So just for future reference, this is Dr. McDonald. So he tells Caesar about the recordings of his parents in the archives.
Right. That he knew. Well, that's where he says my brother.
Yes.
He's like, yeah, my brother the other McDonald, my brother worked for the governor and has tapes of your parents. Like he used to work there in the archives and he knows about them. And this is the scene where we find out that the city that the previous film took place in was nuked.
Right.
Because they're like, we can't.
And
go
it's
there.
radioactive.
It's all nuked and radioactive. Yeah.
Which, by the way, the fact that they know what radioactive is also establishes something as well.
Well, yeah, because the human scientists know about radioactivity.
Yes.
So because they have humans with them, they have what humans know, they know. And they immediately are like, well, I guess we got to go into the city. So Caesar, McDonald, and Virgil go to the armory.
But before that, Caesar is stopped by Lisa.
Yes.
And Lisa, she says something along the lines of, I don't want to have to think of my husband. Because he's like, I want to think of my parents. I want to see my parents.
Right.
And she's saying, essentially, I don't want you to get killed like your parents.
Yeah.
I want you to come home.
I don't want to just have to remember my husband.
And then there's an establishment of a father-son relationship between him and Cornelius, where Cornelius is like, will you bring me back something? And Caesar is like, what do you want? And he's like, more nuts for my squirrel. My squirrel Ricky.
Oh man.
And I was like, oh, that's so sweet.
It's great. But yeah, they go to this armory and they have to like solve riddles to get in. Like there's a crypt keeper there. And he's like, you have to solve my riddles and then I can give you guns.
Yeah.
They go in there and they.
Which, by the way, that crypt keeper, he was like, I was told to not only protect the guns, but protect Cornelius against his own consciousness.
Caesar against his own consciousness.
Caesar, sorry. Yeah. Caesar.
And I don't know. I like the whole, it's so ridiculous how they navigate that.
I love the pedantic dialogue of that exchange. It's so funny.
That is one thing about this movie that I found a little bit grating is the way so many of the characters talk. Was either so on the nose or so like.
But they're also a highbrow society. Like they think very highly of themselves.
Yes, so that's what it is.
It doesn't surprise me that they're very articulate and they're very matter of fact and they say exactly what they mean.
They're talking like, I mean, they even kind of point that out where Caesar's like, can you say it in fucking English?
Yeah. Like, Caesar's like, please. Because he's self-aware and he's almost like that sets the baseline for he's with the audience.
Right.
He's like, interpret it for the audience, please. Like that kind of thing.
The way he asks them to do it is written so annoyingly. It's written so like, can you put it in a manner which even Caesar would understand? It's like, what don't
because he speaks of himself in third person.
I know. It's like, what are you talking like a king? Like you're not.
Because he is a king.
I know he is a king. He is a king. He's a king. Long with the king.
There you go.
Right, but still,
answered your own question.
But they do like a John Wick gear up scene where they all get their favorite guns.
And now it's Caesar, Virgil, and Dr. McDonald going into the Forbidden Zone in search of the tapes. And
I thought that the nuked out city sets were pretty cool. They're pretty big, and the rubble and stuff is also made up of spray foam, like it was in Beneath the Planet of the Apes, and you could tell
where Brent was grabbing rocks
and it was like jiggling, yeah, or like you can clearly see it was coming loose from whatever prop it was attached to.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think that's fun. That like it has a Mad Max. It has a very Mad Max quality.
Speaking of Mad Max,
yeah,
there is a reveal of human survivors living underground suffering from radiation poisoning.
Well, before we get there, I noticed that as soon as they get into the Forbidden Zone, like as they're in the desert, it's shot very pretty because they're outside with the sunset and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Once they get to the catacombs in the Forbidden Zone, they turn the camera on. They were like, what if we use this camera? What if we busted one of the legs of the tripod.
Oh my god.
What if we shot this cool as fuck? Because up until this point, I have to admit, the visuals in this movie are really like lacking.
Mm.
Like up until the point where they venture into the Forbidden Zone.
I also remember like that similar point as well. There wasn't pleasing to the eye.
It was very
wasn't
flat.
nice to watch. Yeah, that is what it felt like. It felt very flat.
It was shot very flat in a way which the previous films weren't necessarily.
Yeah.
Very flat, or didn't call attention to how flat they were filmed or how sparse the sets were. But in this one, as soon as they get to the Forbidden Zone, to the catacombs, the camera, it's very contrasty. The camera has very like dynamic sweeping Dutch angles. There's a lot of really cool lens effects. Like they play with a diopter to like pull focus to two different things at the same time. I think the way that this is shot, once they get there, that is where I locked in.
Yeah.
That's where I was like, wait, is this a good movie? Hold up, wait. They're using that camera? Like, wait, hold up. Wait a minute. They got a camera in this movie?
What the heck?
What the heck?
They got a camera?
Oh my goodness. But yeah, they had a camera. But yes, that's what you're saying, where we find these irradiated humans who are like sick and living down there, and they're dressed like little chimney sweeps.
And on top of that, they are also like actively
Decaying.
suffering, like literally living, decomposing bodies.
Their skin is like starting to bubble.
You see, it's the female who is next to the governor most of the time. She's constantly putting on makeup.
Yeah, to cover
like
up.
touching up her face.
The beginning of
there's like boils and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Baron Harkonnen in like the old Dune movie. Like he's all like bubbly and
blisters and grossness. Yeah.
But yeah, it's the guy who was like the right-hand man in the previous movie.
Right. So this is the beginning of the mutant humans.
Right. But he's the governor now.
Yes.
He survived the last movie.
I think he survived the last movie? I thought he was just self-appointed.
He's the governor now. But he didn't die in the last movie because he was in the last. Remember, he was the one that interrogated Armando.
Wait, that's the same guy?
I thought the guy with the beard.
Oh.
So he's the governor now.
Oh, I didn't realize that he actually survived.
That's why he still has a grudge against Caesar and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, we see that it's him. And I said, okay, wait. The diopter shots with the Dutch angles and the moody lighting are saucy as fuck. Saucy as fuck. Because they are.
Yeah.
Having these dialogue scenes, they're like cold as hell, where they're like Dutch angles, the shadows over their eyes. Both of them are in focus, but they're in two different planes.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is cool. This is cool. I don't know. I think it's cool. I don't care. I don't care what anybody says. We also, well, yeah. You were saying?
Do you have something before they find the footage?
No, my next note is where they find the footage.
Me too. So they find the archived footage of Zero and Cornelius.
And it's just footage from the previous movie.
And also, I think it's funny to see how they try and navigate looking for the footage.
Right.
Too. Like, so it's a dead medium, essentially, in the middle of the apocalypse, and you're looking for tapes. And they're looking at, the mutant humans are watching them on the security cameras. And they're like, that's Caesar and McDonald.
Like,
I don't know the orange one. I don't know the orangutan.
Yeah, they're like, what do they even want with us?
Yeah,
like they don't want a problem. They're just like confused and annoyed.
Well, they don't want a problem at first.
At this point, yeah.
Right.
But then they put the TV on, and Caesar sees Cornelius on the TV.
Yeah. Played
by the same actor. It looks identical to him.
Yeah.
He's like,
that's my dad.
That's my father. Which is funny because it's that thing where like he finally is seeing his father for the first time, and it's giving him that sense of like childlike.
He belongs to somewhere.
Right. He's seeing where he comes from, and he sees how much he looks like his father. And it's the tape is of the scene where Cornelius explains the history of ape kind. So it's that scene that we talked about in the third movie being the center point for these next two movies. Right. Is the scene they revisit, which is cool. Like cool. It's the scene they revisit in the fifth movie.
Then the three are discovered by the mutant humans and are chased.
Yeah, and I wrote a bunch of action happens, and I forgot to take notes. That was my note.
Yeah, basically that was just my note too. Is the fact that they were discovered and chased. Caesar hoses down the mutants, allowing time to escape instead of shooting,
Right.
which
And
is also kind
An
of screwed
act of
up.
mercy, or instead of shooting.
Well, yeah, it is somewhat of an act of mercy, but
It's also an act of like belittling.
going back to his previous statement when he was getting electroshock therapy, where he's like, "Have pity."
Yeah.
That's him having pity.
Yeah.
Rather than showing mercy.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
There's a difference.
Yeah, you're right. That's a good point. And well, they get back to Ape City, right? Their little ape society.
Yeah.
And the one thing I really took note here is that this shot when he's addressing his people is like one of the few shots in the movie that's shot anamorphic, like the last one. And you get these really dynamic, wide dolly shots in the sunlight at like a higher frame rate, some of them.
Right.
Which have like a really, really cool look. And like these roaming wide shots of Caesar addressing the people. Like I didn't really pay attention much to what he was actually talking about.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh yeah, this does look well shot. Like, whereas the first lead, like not half, but like the first 20, 30 minutes was like kind of flat. This is the first time we're getting a shot in Ape City that is very dynamic.
Right. Which makes sense.
Which we get more of later during the actual battle.
But the group escapes from the mutant human city.
Right.
And returns to be confronted by Aldo.
Yeah.
Who confronts Caesar and challenges his authority. And Caesar just basically stares him down. Like
that's at this outdoor scene.
Yeah, that's the outdoor scene. This is before he has the meeting with
the speech.
The village.
Okay. Good point.
It's revealed that humans are not equal to apes, which I mean, even though that's not a very big reveal, it's just reaffirmed. And this is reaffirmed through the humans trying to attend the village council meeting.
And not being allowed to.
And being shunned.
Yeah.
Like, shame, Bill.
Yeah. Shame!
But Caesar then goes on to say, they are here because I've brought them.
Right.
Because he has called them. Because they know of the mutant humankind. They know of the people who are going to be coming here soon. Therefore, we need their help. And Aldo is the one who's like, well, I'm not standing and listening to any humans. And all the gorillas get up and leave.
Yeah. And they all reconvene at a bonfire.
Yeah.
And they're like, we're going to attack these humans. You have no idea. We're going to cause a war. You know, we're going to do some pretty fucked up shit. We're going to kill them. We're going to play with their blood.
Yeah.
And you know what? Maybe we'll even kill Caesar if we want. You know, maybe we'll do that. Maybe we'll do some of that. What they don't know is that while they're walking around doing all this monkey business, somebody is up in the tree watching them.
Oh, you're talking about the tree already? I have a little bit before that.
Oh, yeah? What do you have before that?
So there's a distinct tension that's rising between the apes and gorillas.
Right. The chimps and gorillas.
The chimps and the gorillas. There's going to be an obvious explosion at one point.
Right.
And the mutant humans found the ape camp and are planning an attack on them to exterminate them. Now, there is a peaceful bald guy who ends up being the official mutant human leader in the movie with Brent. But in this one, he is second to the governor. Like he's a couple steps below him.
Yeah.
And he's asking why we can't be peaceful. They peacefully came and they peacefully left. Why do we need to go search out for them?
Right.
And the governor responds to exterminate them.
Yeah.
He wishes to eradicate the apes.
Yeah.
As if that is exactly what they deserve after what
did to
had
us.
been done to humanity.
That's a good point.
So now Caesar holds a council meeting, preparing the apes for the day. The humans will invade the camp. And then Cornelius's pet squirrel, Ricky, that little trickster, Ricky, escapes out the window. And in search for Ricky, Cornelius goes chasing after him and accidentally overhears the gorillas having a campfire rally, scheming against both the humans and Caesar. Humans first, then Caesar.
Yeah. And then
yep.
The humans, they get a bunch of trucks.
Well, Cornelius is spotted.
Yeah, well, yeah. I think it's because I got distracted by that.
That's okay. So Cornelius is spotted, and Aldo cuts the branch he was standing on.
Yeah, and then he fucking kills him.
Yeah.
Kills him.
But he's on the brink of life. Like, he's holding on to his life for the rest of the movie.
So what they do is, Aldo goes up there and he cuts the branch he's standing on. Cornelius lands on the ground and he's out.
Yeah.
All the gorillas are like, we gotta get the fuck out of here. Yeah. They all clear out. They kick out the fire, and Cornelius is found like severely injured on the floor
by Lisa, by his own mother,
who notices that there is a fire that was just stamped out over there.
No, that was Dr. McDonald who noticed
Dr. McDonald?
Yes.
Yeah.
Dr. McDonald notices the stamped out fire. He takes the branch down from the tree and
sees that it's cut.
And see that it was cut.
Yeah.
Who then eventually tells Virgil, and Virgil is the one with that information now.
Yeah. And then I wrote, the humans get a bunch of trucks and
they Mad Max their way to the ape campsite using a school bus.
they ride through the desert in a war party like fucking Mad Max. Hell yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
They fire a fucking tank at 2 apes who actually just explode. Holy shit.
Like spontaneous combustion.
They just did a practical explosion with like some stunt guys there.
So now
blew the shit out of them.
We have people who are coming over to the ape campsite
to start shit,
who are out for blood, and the reinforcements are now weakened because Caesar is too busy doting over his dying son with Lisa.
Yes.
So now there is a high pinnacle moment where it's about to go down.
Aldo is kind of secretly taking control in the background.
And he literally does.
Yeah.
So the mutant humans bring military-grade weapons, killing a gorilla and wounding another, which this information is then brought back to the village, and Aldo
uses it as a way.
He radicalizes himself.
Well, he uses it as an excuse to put an act like martial law.
And he puts that into play, and he sits in Caesar's throne.
Yeah, and he rallies up all the humans into a little cage.
So he sits in his chair, demanding all the humans be corralled like cattle while he just watches.
Right.
And Aldo declares martial law, demanding chimps into their homes. He then ransacks the armory.
Takes all the guns.
All of them. And then, do you have something before Cornelius dies?
Yeah, I wrote, a lot of these outdoor shots are shot at a higher shutter speed, which is probably to adjust for the exposure.
Right.
But the lighting changes between direct sunlight shots and the ones that were like using a light on set are very noticeable. Like I started to notice like these weird lighting changes that felt weird for a movie that you would expect at this scale.
It feels a little bit rushed.
Right.
Like they weren't really paying attention to that. They're like, just get the shot.
Right.
That's what it felt like.
Unlike the last movie, which had this like meticulous dark cinematography, this one's all at daytime with all this like bright sunlight that they felt like they didn't account for.
Yeah. So
and then Cornelius fucking dies is what happened.
Yeah, he dies
immediately next.
And his father's sentiment as he dies is Cornelius will one day be as tall as a king, but that day will never come. So
Rest
Caesar,
in peace, my king.
Caesar essentially just like breaks. Like he's done. And Lisa, she shuts down.
Yeah. She's
of no use to anybody anymore.
And they have a human nurse in there that's helping them out too.
And even the human nurse is pulled into another room with Lisa, and Lisa's like, please just say the truth. And the nurse is like, even if we had an ambulance. And she doesn't even get to finish her sentence before Lisa just starts to shut down. Because she knows what that means. She knows that it's the end for Cornelius.
Yeah. And that's when the humans attack.
Yep.
Suddenly, the humans attack.
So Caesar demands the humans be released as the mutant humans bomb/attack the ape camp.
Then we have tanks, and then we get to see some of the most ridiculous shit as they just like blow stuff up, fire guns at each other, wacky costumes.
And also, it's crazy too, the fact that they have the humans locked up as the mutant humans are shooting.
Right.
There's nowhere for them to go.
Exactly.
They're essentially they're trapped.
Up. They're like sitting ducks.
Yeah.
And I will say, seeing these like big trucks and cars and motorcycles riding through these like very picturesque, beautiful landscapes is kind of fire. It looks so sick. It looks so cool.
So then battle strikes. The chimps barricade in hopes of slowing them down.
Right.
And that is the first motive of attack, is the barricade. Caesar calls for everyone to fall back to the village because barricading is not working.
Right.
Lisa, mother of Cornelius, is still in shock of her son's death, and the nurse begs her to move, but she won't.
Right.
She can't leave her dead son.
You took notes on all this stuff. I just wrote, honestly, this battle is pretty intense.
And then there was the sentiment, not necessarily opposite of sentiment, said by the governor.
Right. Every Caesar must have its Brutus. Do you understand me, ape?
Mm-hmm.
That line I have written down as well.
Caesar is surrounded when suddenly the apes come from hiding, attacking the mutant humans by surprise. However, after all this slaughter and pounding and bloodshed, the mutant governor escapes.
With
and
like the rest of his men.
Caesar's like, let them go. Let them go. But Aldo is on the outskirts, waiting
prisoners.
with his guerrillas. He says, no prisoners. And Aldo surrounds the bus with the governor and attacks, killing everyone inside all the vehicles.
And when he gets back, he tries to usurp Caesar. But...
Right. So Caesar demands the humans to be released, but Aldo protests, threatening to kill them all, and Caesar steps in between the guerrillas and the humans.
However,
Virgil
reveals
that Cornelius's branch was cut by Aldo by saying, ape has killed ape.
And this scene goes hard.
Yeah, this is like really intense. Like just the close-ups of everyone's like
close-ups of
angry eyes.
Roddy McDowell as Caesar is fucking intense. And he's just screaming over and over, you murdered my son! You murdered my son! And he's saying this as Aldo is like whimpering and crawling away.
And he's like hysterically crying as he realizes.
Because he's realized
the reality has set in.
He's betrayed ape kind.
Yeah.
But Caesar has to do what a king must do. And he fucking kills.
So Caesar essentially chases Aldo up a tree, just like Aldo chased Cornelius up a tree.
Kills Aldo the same way Cornelius died.
To which his sword is drawn. Caesar allows Aldo to fall from the branch after they struggle, which essentially kills him.
He does some like Batman shit. Where he's like, I won't kill you. But I'm not going to save you. I'm not going to save you.
And then there's this debate that Caesar has with himself out loud in front of Virgil, where he's not sure justifying another ape murder with an ape murder, if it's okay.
Right.
Caesar releases the humans. The humans, at which specifically Dr. McDonald is like, if you're expecting gratitude, don't. Because we're not equals.
Right. Yeah.
Like something of that nature.
Which is like hard as hell. Like, it's sick like that the movie ends on this kind of note.
And he's like, you must stop treating us like children. So that's the in-between. That is the in-between. Is the humans are not slaves. They are children.
However, I don't know if you have this here or if you have that note. Do you have a note about the armory right before we cut the last scene?
No.
So we cut the last scene. 600 years hence again. And the lawgiver is there and he's talking, he's continuing his monologue. But the camera pans around.
Oh, yeah, I do.
And what do we see? Apes and human are equal.
Yeah.
Learning from the same teachers and being allowed to play equally with one another.
There's human children and ape children.
In the same school. And they're being allowed to tease one another and stuff without any issue. Just like earlier in the movie, we see Cornelius is playing with a human boy. And it ends on a strangely peaceful note.
Yeah.
And I wrote, that's pretty neat, I guess.
So narrator reveals to be telling the story 600 years after Caesar's death to both apes and human children. And the final shot being the Caesar statue crying.
Yeah.
A single tear.
What does it mean? Looks cool.
Looks cool.
That's what it means.
I would say probably because Caesar, all that he has ever worked for
has finally been achieved. But again, he has always been an ape with ulterior motives because he has a superiority complex when it comes to humans. Right.
However, even in death, as he's like watching over quotation marks, he is realizing the beauty of what comes from the equality. So it's
Right.
almost like character development for him, even though he's long dead.
Yeah.
In a way.
It's the only Apes movie from this original series that kind of ends on like a positive note.
Like a hopeful.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is weird considering how nihilistic all the other ones are.
You want to hear my summary?
But it's fine. I wrote this pretty neat. Yeah, give me your summary.
Life under Caesar's rule has its tensions as the guerrillas scheme to rebel and the mutant humans of the Forbidden Zone with wish to exterminate the apes in revenge of Caesar's revolt against the human race.
Yeah.
Yeah. Something like that.
Something like that.
Moral, I really liked this quote from the armory ape. He's a lawgiver, right?
Right. He's just an older guy. I don't remember what his name is.
All knowledge is for good. Only the use to which you put it can be good or evil.
Yeah.
I like that one.
That was a good one.
Cinematic takeaway, statues can cry, never enough explosion zoom-ins.
And sometimes make that camera crooked. Sometimes make that camera crooked.
Remember you have a camera.
What that tripod do? What that tripod do?
You know what? Just break that leg.
Hey, all the legs
Take
don't
out
have
that
to be the same height. Do whatever you want. Yeah.
I gave it 7 out of 10 pet squirrels.
I did as well. I gave it 3.5 stars on Letterboxd.
Nice.
And I believe my review was, let's check right now. Let's stall for time. At what point are the Planet of the Apes films considered tokusatsu? Also, the cinematography goes hard as hell once they get to the Forbidden Zone.
Yeah.
Those were what I said on Letterboxd. That's 3.5 stars for me.
So what are we looking at as far as our itemized list here?
So who wants to go first? You or me for the ranking?
You can go first.
I go first?
You go first.
All right. So I have here the original Planet of the Apes movies ranked.
Mm-hmm.
Number 1. Well, should I start from number 5? Yeah, number 5. Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
Mm-hmm.
The one we just discussed.
Got it.
3.5 stars.
That's
out of
at
5?
your bottom?
Yes, number 5. I still like it. I would watch it again. I have no problems with it. I mean, I have problems with it, but I enjoy it, and it is what it is, you know?
Mm-hmm.
It's number 5. One of them had to be number 5, right?
Got it.
Number 4. Escape from the Planet of the Apes. 4 stars. Escape from the Planet of the Apes. That's the third one. Liked it a lot. I love the sitcominess nature of it.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the only thing that had it, I guess, like lower on my list is that maybe the ending meanders a little bit longer than the other ones.
Oh, okay.
Talking to the mic, silly goose, if you're going to talk.
Sorry.
What the heck? What the heck? What the heck?
Sorry, we've been doing it for so long.
Number 3 is Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Another 4 stars. That one is the second one. I like how hard the second half of that movie goes. It's fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And number 2, Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. 4th movie. That movie goes way too hard to not be number 2.
Got it.
And then, of course, number 1, Planet of the Apes, the OG, the classic, the first one, the amazing movie. I didn't review this one on Letterboxd recently, but my past reviews are, fuck, man, movies fucking rule. And I love these movies where all the men are just greasy, stink of tobacco and liquor, weirdly in great shape, throwing double-fisted punches and nets, delivering insane lines with total sincerity, wearing costumes and makeup that are totally silly and schlocky, but also fucking awesome.
Nice.
Just had that pulpy sci-fi bullshit with these old-timey actors. I just eat it up. Nom 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 nom. Yummy yummy. Good good. Yes yes. I love good. Yes yes yes. Good. That was my review for the first one.
Nice.
Number 1. So yeah, number 1, Planet. Number 2, Conquest. Number 3, Beneath. Number 4, Escape. And number 5, Battle.
Okay.
How about you?
I don't have them in order. I just have them in list of chronologically.
Which one do you like the best?
Well,
what do you mean? Rank them.
Listen.
Them.
I did rank them. My Apple Pencil died, so
oh yeah, use your finger. Use your finger.
Okay, so Planet of the Apes, the first one, I put at 8.
Yeah.
That one is number 3. 4 is number 4.
Start at wait, what? Start at what you think
My top one or my bottom one?
Start at your bottom one.
My bottom one. That is Battle for the Planet of the Apes.
Okay.
I ranked it at a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
The next one being Planet of the Apes.
The first one.
First one.
At number 4?
At 8. At number 4.
Jesus Creases. All right.
And Beneath the Planet of the Apes at 8.5. That's my number 3.
Okay.
And Conquest of the Planet of the Apes.
Right.
Is my number 2.
Nice. Me too.
That 9 out of 10.
Yes.
Or
yeah, 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. Yes. And my first one. Number 1 is Escape from the Planet of the Apes.
I mean, all of these great movies. I mean, any ranking. The only ranking that I would not accept is if Planet of the Apes was the first one last. Because if you were going to rank it that way, it might be something wrong with like your ability to process information.
What about second to last?
We have to talk about that later.
Oh, okay. I see.
No,
I see how it is.
I'm kidding.
Oh, well.
It is what it is. But because these movies are great and they're all fun and they all provide something unique.
Mm-hmm.
And like I figured that you, especially you, would like the third one.
Yeah.
Like it has the vibes of like a movie that Winter would like.
Yes.
But yeah.
Absolutely. Daniel.
Yes.
Are you ready for my infinite regression theory?
Yes. Oh my God. You didn't bring this up earlier. I forgot. Give it to me.
So basically, here's my theory.
Okay.
We got all these movies, right?
Right.
All these movies written by essentially the same team of people.
Kind of.
Kind of.
Kind of.
Directed by a handful of different people.
Right.
However, they all fit into each other.
She has drawings. She has drawings.
So, as you saw in Escape from the Planet of the Apes, the infinite regression.
Right.
Where it's
she has a screenshot of it and it has writing all over it.
So you see how there's a painter who is painting a landscape.
Right.
And he looks at the painting and he's like, I'm missing something from this painting. You know what? I'm going to paint myself painting this painting.
Right.
But then he takes a step back and he realizes, wait a minute. I am still currently painting this painting. Mm-hmm. Therefore, this is not accurate. I still have to paint myself into painting, which is also painting this painting.
Yes, an artist that is painting an artist that is painting an artist that is painting an artist.
And it's the infinite regression into insanity of doing the same thing over and over again.
I guess, yes, correct.
And realizing the picture only gets larger. It cannot get smaller.
Right.
So, with that being said, in my opinion, after watching all 5 of these movies, Escape of the Planet of the Apes from the Planet of the Apes takes place in 1973.
Right.
Conquest takes place in 1991.
Right.
And
Battle takes place in 2001.
Battle takes place in 2001. Planet takes place in 3978, and Beneath takes place in 3979.
Mm-hmm.
In this order, I have began from the center of this painting.
Right.
Is Escape.
Yeah.
From the Planet of the Apes. Escape is the foundation because that is when Caesar's born.
It's the beginning.
It's
the
alpha
very
beginning.
And the omega. He's born at the start, but he's also in the last movie.
Exactly. So Escape is the foundation. It's the landscape. It's the consistent setting. It's the consistent foundation of the myth and of the lore of Caesar. There is no Caesar without the birth in Escape.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
You're zoning out on me.
No, I'm listening.
Okay.
Well, it's like Paul Den's circle, like he said.
So then we have the painter who is painting Escape, which is Conquest.
Right.
And then following that, the painter who is painting Conquest, who is painting Escape, is Battle.
Right.
And then following that is Planet. And following that is Beneath. And then it's Escape again.
Right, because they escape.
It is consistently regressing on itself.
Because it's
infinite lore within itself as it's currently being written.
Yeah. It's a
Is this
circle.
making any sense?
It's making sense.
I couldn't put it into. I tried to put it into a circle and I just got dizzy, so I put it into this.
You put it in a painting of a guy painting a painting of a painting of a guy.
Yeah, this is less dizzy for me. But then
Okay.
here's another crazy theory.
Is it gonna be another slide?
The
What?
ultimate ape society is the landscape, and
Mhm.
Caesar is the painter, constantly
Mm.
rewriting in different versions of the same timeline as to what the ultimate
Oh.
ape society is.
Like it changes each time.
Yes.
Each time the circle
And we're
meets
just seeing the
around,
different adaptations of it.
which is why Cornelius has a different version of history than the one we see.
Exactly.
Oh my
Boom.
God. She's done it. She's figured it out. She's cracked. And that's why there's a different Caesar in the modern movies
Mm-hmm.
than there was in the old movies.
Because the
It's a
legend
new timeline.
is living and breathing.
What the fuck?
So it's it's constantly existing while also rewriting itself.
She's doing shit. She's doing shit.
But yeah,
She's cooking. Let her cook.
For those of you who have been listening to me rave about it this entire day that we've been shooting, all 5 episodes I've been talking about this theory, saying that I'm not going to talk about it yet. Here you go.
Winter has developed the end of Evangelion theory for the Planet of the Apes franchise. Every time the third impact happens at the end of Beneath the Planet of the Apes, the timeline resets with Escape.
Yes.
If you don't realize that.
Yes.
Escape from the Planet of the Apes, the birth of Caesar, is the second impact. For those of you at home that are listening to a Planet of the Apes podcast and want to hear about an even more obscure conspiracy theory about a fucking cartoon, Evangelion is the second impact, is
Oh,
the
boy.
reset point. The third impact is the ending point. Escape from the Planet of the Apes is the second impact. That's where we reset to. That's where Shinji is. That's where Caesar is. Beneath the Planet of the Apes. That's when the third impact happens. End of the world. Everything comes tumbling down. Looped back. Reset. Escape from the Planet of the Apes. Rebuild of Planet of the Apes. Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Planet of the Apes 2001. We don't talk about that one. Oh my goodness. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes comes out next month.
Just for context, he's pacing and waving his hands around right now.
If you've ever seen Always Sunny in Philadelphia, the scene where
That's
Charlie
exactly what you
is
look
trying
like.
to find Pepe Sylvia in the mailroom, that's me right now. Winter just fucking opened up my third eye. Winter just absolutely obliterated my third. I couldn't have predicted this got any better. This makes so much sense now. So the new Planet of the Apes are the rebuild trilogy of the old Planet of the Apes. It makes so much sense. Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes is that Nintendo 64 version of Evangelion. No one knows. No one gives a fuck about it. It was a terrible video game. It makes so much sense. All of Planet of the Apes is the same thing as Evangelion. It's magic. It all comes tumbling down. This is for nobody. This whole podcast is just for me. This whole podcast has been coming to a point where it's just for Daniel. The intersection between apes and Evangelion, the two things that I like. The two things that
Exactly. As you wear an Ava shirt today.
I'm wearing an Ava shirt. I didn't plan this. Oh my goodness. I'm wearing an Evangelion shirt. Winter planned this the whole time. She's
yeah, I
God.
did. I knew the
When
entire
Jesus
time.
and Mary and Joseph are born and escape from Planet of the Apes, Winter was God the whole time.
I'm the
This is
lawgiver.
a glitch in the Matrix. You knew exactly what was going to happen. How did you make me do this? What is real? Is anything real? There's 2 black cats just walked next to each other at the same time. Was it 2 black cats or was it the same black cat?
Oh my god.
Oh my goodness. I don't even want to talk about my take on these movies. I'm getting
What?
busy. My take on these movies is that they're just myths. It's like legend. It's like King Arthur. It's fairy tales. Caesar, his story gets retold over and over because Caesar is more of an idea than he is a person. But who gives a fuck about that? Winter just fucking blew my mind. Oh my goodness.
I can't tell you
What's
being
going
serious or
on?
not.
You need to send me those graphs you
I
made.
will, because we have to post them so
What the
people
fucking
can
heck?
have a crisis along with you.
What the fucking heck is, what the heck? My brain is broken. Oh my goodness. I couldn't have anticipated. I thought maybe the last episode of this podcast was going to be absolutely unlistenable because we had nothing to say about this movie. And then this bombshell, the last 15 minutes of this podcast have been me pacing back and forth confused. What is that? Oh my goodness. I can't even sit down because I'm doing a stand-up podcast and I put my chair in a different room and now I can't even sit down to calm down. This has been a ploy.
Your blood pressure's so high.
Winter knew I was going to do a stand-up podcast on the last episode, which is why she saved it for this episode. Except the stand-up podcast was I only thought about doing it right before hitting record.
I knew you were thinking of it.
Oh my goodness, she knew the whole time. She knew I was going to wear an Evangelion shirt. She knew that the two things I like are Planet of the Apes and Ava, but she doesn't know anything about that Ava conspiracy theory. So how did she come up with this idea? And then she knew I was going to stand up in the last episode somehow before it. So she waited all 4 episodes. She established it in the 0 episode. She had a conspiracy for episode 5. And she knew I was going to stand up and not be able to sit down. What is happening?
You okay? Do you need medical attention?
Winter, do the outro.
Okay. Thank you so much for listening. For those of you who have been with us since episode 1, we appreciate you. Please leave a rating and a comment and like and hit the bell.
Hit the bell.
Hit the non-existent bell.
Listen, it's not even
across
on YouTube.
all platforms.
On your podcatcher of choice, leave 5 stars. I've been Winter. You can find me on Instagram at Cinematic Witchcraft.
What?
What?
And you can find me, DCR Films, on Instagram.
That's what happened. This third impact happened and Beneath the Planet of the Apes, and now,
We switched places.
now I'm Winter. Oh my goodness. Aldo doesn't even say no. Oh my goodness. If you enjoyed this podcast, please check out our other work. This has been the final episode of Talk of the Planet of the Apes.
This is the final episode.
Yeah, the miniseries ends here.
Yeah,
We would like to return.
absolutely, yeah.
Maybe
If you
do
guys
season
want
2.
us to return, please make yourselves known, and we want to hear your conspiracy theories.
Give me, yes. And if it's different from Winter's, you're wrong.
No.
Her conspiracy theory is right. She just made up some bullshit and drew it on the iPad, and she's correct. So you all have a lot to live up for. All right. And as we say on every episode on this show, you murdered my son!